Hi there, I'm Holly McDonald with the Costa Mesa Pod, where we discuss all things concerning the lifestyle, businesses, and activities that make our area such a great place to live. Today I have Lucas, and he is here with the wildest interview I have ever done. Lucas, what do you do?
So yeah, my name is Lucas. I'm the wildlife guy of My Wildlife People. And right here I have a wildlife creature. And basically what I like to do is take wildlife creatures all around to birthday parties, events, just educating people on the amazing world of wildlife and showing these people, what they may not be able to see every day, which is pretty cool. So I have some interesting things to show Holly and you guys. And right here, this is one of my favorites. This is a California king snake. You can actually find these guys in the area around here in California. King snakes are all around the states. Actually, this is a subspecies. There's a whole bunch of different species all around the states of just king snakes, and they come in all sorts of different colors and patterns. And this guy's pretty cool, super cool.
Yeah. How long is he? Like all untwined?
So all untwined, king snakes can get about 5 to 6 feet. This guy is going on about 6.5.
Oh my gosh!
Super long. You can see. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell when they're moving around like this, but when they shed, so a snake sheds their skin.
Oh wow!
Here we go. Yeah. So this is a snake skin. This is what happens when they grow and they shed. This isn't his, but this is how you're more easily able to tell how long a snake is. So when this guy sheds and I measure it out, it's about 6.5 feet.
When do they shed?
big.
Is it like yearly or?
It's every couple months. As they're growing, as they're eating more. Baby snakes will shed a whole lot more than adult snakes. Adult snakes will probably only shed a handful of times a year as they're growing, because as they get older, they're not doing as much growing as they did when they were younger, which is pretty cool.
So what do we have now?
So these are bearded dragons. These guys are super cool. These lizards come from Australia, and Australia is actually the hottest place on the planet. It's right on the equator. So these guys have really thick, tough, leathery skin, just to keep water in their system more than you would say like a frog or even us. Our skin is very light, and we let water go just by sweating and doing all that. These guys keep water in their system more by having a tough, leathery skin. And they're pretty cool, yeah. These guys are bearded dragons. Their scientific name is Pagona viticeps, and they're actually a part of the Gommidae species of lizard. Yeah. And the Gommidae species of lizard, that family, comes all over Australia, Europe, a couple of species of Madagascar, Madagascar. And the Gommidae lizards have a whole bunch of different adaptations that allow them to survive and basically just look cool in the wild. And so for these guys, you have the bearded dragon. They're full of spikes. They're not actually spiky though. They're pretty. You just run your finger along them and nothing happens.
Oh yeah, they just
it's
look
all
spiky.
show. Yeah, it's all just for show.
But is it like a predatory thing to scare off? Okay.
That's how they ward off predators. They actually got the name bearded dragon because if you look at this right here, their guttural throat pouch, they're actually able to control that and change the color to dark or very black. And so that's how they got the name bearded dragon, because it looks like a beard, which is pretty cool. And so these guys are super awesome. They're going to be eating bugs and also greens, so vegetables and a bunch of plants out there in Australia.
Do they change color or anything?
So they can change color, not like a chameleon where it's super obvious like that and all the time. These guys will really be changing color mostly depending on their temperature and their mood. So if they're really hot, they're gonna be light colored, and if it's colder and they want to get heated up more, they're gonna be darker, because that's how they attract more heat, as they get darker. And if they're happy, they're gonna be lighter colored, and if they're scared or angry, they're gonna be darker colored to ward off any predators or just look scarier.
Just like a mood ring. Yeah, how cool.
These guys actually have a third eye too at the top of their head. It doesn't work like their other two in seeing shapes and really defined colors. It will really only see lights and darks. And so that's what helps these guys as babies. Their biggest predator will be birds and things bigger than them. So at any second that they see something move above their head, they're gone, they're running. Super cool, yeah.
So do you bring these to schools and parties and that type of thing?
These guys have been all over, super fun.
Yeah.
Bunch of little kids love these guys.
Crowd pleaser.
Yeah, for sure. Super cool.
Who is this big guy?
So this is Fideo. He's a ball python. Ball pythons come from Africa. Their scientific name is Python regius. And something interesting about wildlife creatures, their scientific names, when people were naming them and using the scientific names to really determine what wildlife creatures were, they used Greek and Latin prefixes and suffixes. So actually, Regius means king in Latin. And so that is actually hinting at the myths that these snakes were actually worn around the necks of ancient African royalty like Cleopatra, for how incredibly gorgeous these snakes were, almost like live jewelry, which is pretty cool.
They are beautiful.
These guys are super, super beautiful. This is actually exactly what you would find if you did go to Africa and you were looking for ball pythons.
Yeah.
This is what you would find. This is this wild type pattern that you would see, which is very interesting.
It's really cool.
Very super cool.
Wow, what a cool one.
Yeah. And a fun fact about these guys is a lot of people like to call these right here alien heads.
They do look like alien heads.
You can see how they look like alien heads.
You smelling me? Now
Yep.
I know what it means to stick your tongue out.
Yeah, he's looking for you.
You're smelling.
Super
Very cool.
Yeah, and these guys are actually interesting because, as you can see on their snout, they have more holes than the other snake that I had shown you, the California king snake. Those aren't nostrils, those are heat pits. And so this guy can sense ultraviolet heat radiation in a certain wavelength, which is basically the same wavelength as the body temperature of like small rodents and other creatures out there in Africa. And so that's another way that these creatures are able to see the world in a different way that we are.
And that's how they like hunt their food.
Exactly. They're able to find those warm spots. And so if they see, in their head, almost if you envision it, a warm spot that's moving, that smells like a rodent, that's food. That's food. And that's exactly how these guys work. Everything to them is it's all how they perceive the world and what's going on around them.
Yeah.
So if it's in a position of danger, if it's in a position of food, it's all going to react based off of how it perceives the world. And so, as a human, if you want to have a nice, clean interaction with a wildlife creature, all you have to do is give them that environment and show them, this is a calm environment. We're not food. This is going to be, just a little chill session.
So go ahead and share some about this snaky thing.
So this right here is a corn snake. These guys come from the East Coast. Their scientific name, Pantherophis guttatus. And these guys are just incredible. They're going to be smaller than the king snakes, 4 to 5 feet. And they're very active, very incredible. This guy is actually albino. And so he's missing a lot of those darker pigments and those darker colorations. Very incredible snakes. And they're going to be terrestrial, always on the ground, always burrowing, always looking for somewhere to, rest and eat. Very exploring snakes. They might be in the trees every once in a while, but these guys are mostly on the ground floor, not truly an arboreal snake.
So you said East Coast, are they more of like a warmer climate type of snake?
They're going to be, so these guys are actually very, very hardy. They can be anywhere from Florida all the way up into North and South Carolina. Okay. And then even parts into like Louisiana. So they're all over the East Coast. Yeah. Very incredible, They're found all over out there. Super interesting snakes.
Yeah, they're very interesting color. I don't think I've ever thought of a snake like that before.
No, this one, so he's albino, but he also has another genetic in his body that makes him more of that orange color. Mm-hmm. Usually albino corn snakes are going to be more of like a reddish, gray, white. Okay. But since this guy has another thing added in his DNA, it sort of just changes everything. Super, super interesting.
Where do you get these animals?
So there's a lot of them. A lot of these guys that I've shown to you today are rescues. Okay. There's a lot of people out there that, especially during COVID, because that's when I started doing this a lot heavier, was during COVID when I had a lot more time. Yeah. And so during COVID, a lot of people were getting animals. After COVID, they were like, hey, can't do this anymore. We got to start life again. Yeah. And so people were just, there's a lot of other places out there that take rescues and whatnot. And so I was doing that for a little while, taking in rescues. I still do it. But a lot of these animals just come from rescues and just people who don't want them anymore. And so basically, that's another way that why I like doing what I do is I repurpose, almost give these animals a whole new life, Before they might not have been getting treated the best or, the healthiest, and I basically take them, I get them healthy, I treat them better. Yeah. And then, I basically give them, they're educational ambassadors at that point. I take them to shows, they spread joy. They enjoy it too. It's part of the reason why I do what I do.
Yeah, I love that behind it. Do they go through any sort of like a weird transition phase going from like wild to semi-domesticated?
So none of these are like truly wild. A lot of them are going to be pet trade has been here for decades and decades. Okay. So a lot of these animals are not wild in that way. their bloodline and their DNA has been captive bred for years.
Okay.
So they're not truly wild animals like that, but there's definitely, at the end of the day, it is a wild creature, and if you were to take one of these creatures and treat it like a wild animal, it's going to end up being a wild animal.
Yeah.
So there is a very interesting transition of having a creature not used to human interaction and then getting it very used to human interaction, and it's very cool to see.
So next up is a little treat that realtors don't normally like to see. Not gonna lie, I'm a little freaked out. Tell us about the cockroaches.
So these are giant Madagascar hissing roaches. Their scientific name, Gramphorderina portentosa. And these guys are terrestrial roaches. They're not going to be flying. They don't have any wings. And they're only found in Madagascar, which is pretty cool. No, they can climb on walls.
They make noise?
Yeah.
Woo,
So they're
hiss.
they're giant Madagascar hissing roaches. And so they can expel air out of their spiracles. So all insects, they're not like us. They don't have lungs. They don't have muscles like that to really pull and push air like we do and breathe. They basically just have holes along their body called spiracles, and they're just holes that wait for the wind to blow oxygen into their system. But these guys have very special membranes and muscles around those spiracles that can actually push air out of their system, and so that's how they ward off predators. And and there's actually different ways that they hiss to communicate within themselves.
Kind of like
the hissing
Darth
roaches.
Vader looking.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, when you take these to parties and schools, these are safe for everybody to touch and all of that? I mean, I'm not going to touch this one, but okay.
So as long as you keep your hands clean before and after any interaction with an animal, you're generally safe from any sicknesses or anything like that. And as far as like the safety of anybody for any of the creatures that I take, I wouldn't bring anything that I know is going to bite somebody. But what I like to tell people is, at the end of the day, they are wildlife animals. No matter how much I train them and get them used to human interaction, if they feel the need to protect themselves, they're going to do it. There's no real communication that like humans have, where it's like somebody's not going to hurt somebody. With animals, it's a little different. So there's always that underlying, just worry and concern. But at the end of the day, I don't bring animals that are generally very aggressive or I know is going to bite somebody. Everything that I bring is going to be safe for somebody to interact with.
Well, and I'm positive kids would love this.
Oh, the kids love these things. Absolutely love these things. They're super, super cool.
Okay. What on earth do we have here?
So this is Loki. He's one of my best friends. And as we were talking about rescues earlier, I had actually rescued him. This is going to be, next year will be 3 years. So 3 years ago on 4th of July, somebody who had known I do animal stuff had texted me saying that their son's snake had escaped. Their son had gone away. They didn't even know where their son had been, at. So the snake was just out. And they said, hey, come get him, come pick him up. And so I did. I picked him up, got him. And so me and him have been best friends ever since. Because when I first got him, he was very skinny. He had because he had escaped from his cage. That was the whole issue.
Okay.
Is when they showed up to their son's house, he had escaped. And so he had a bunch of scratches all along his neck and his head.
Aww.
And so over time, as a snake heals and grows and sheds, that'll naturally go away. And so now he's just this huge beast of an animal. And he's just, and I say beast, but I mean that only in size.
It's like a
he
loving
is such
way.
a sweetheart. He is such a sweetheart.
He looks very in tune with you. I can see a little of the shedding going on and all of that. That's so cool. So, Lucas, how do people reach out to you and connect with you if they really want to have you come and do an event for them or educate them or anything like that?
The best way would be Instagram. So I do a bunch of social media posts on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. But a simple Instagram DM, I'm always on there.
Yeah.
And just let me know, and I'll let you know exactly what I can do and what I can bring, and we'll have some fun for sure.
It's very magical, kind of watching you glide across. That's so cool.
No, this is so fun, and it's especially with this guy. I can line up at least 10 little kids, and they all hold them all at the same time. They all just enjoy it. It's so cool. So
what a treat. Oh, how fun. Well, Lucas, thank you for all you do. And we'll be watching your business grow. This is so crazy. This is so cool. Everybody, you have to follow him on Instagram and meet his pets and wildlife creatures. Lukas, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Holly. Thank you for the invitation.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.